Hey everybody, Eric Chessen, founder of Autism Fitness here, reminding you that if you have not yet become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro, the link to discover more is in the description below for this video, and you can check out all of the things that become part of your training and coaching repertoire, your skill set that is going to set you apart from other practitioners and bring your athletes on the autism and neurodiverse spectrum all sorts of benefits, the best possible fitness and adapted PE programming that they can get courtesy of you when you join the Autism Fitness Certified Pros. So coming up in this Tuesday training, what I have for you is I want to show some of the ways that we look at strengthening from the standpoint, literally and figuratively, of the feet. Rooting is something that we talk about a lot in the Autism Fitness certification in terms of both assessing skills and then addressing movement as well. It's something that's often overlooked. And when we have all of these competing variables, we have the physical, the exercise itself and how well the athlete performs it. We have the adaptive, how motivated the athlete is to perform, whether they are on task, whether they are off task, whether they are lying on the floor, refusing to get back up, whether they're looking out a window, whether they are walking away after 2 or 3 repetitions, all things that have happened in my sessions this week alone, right? Plus more. And then the cognitive, the neurological, and then the neuromuscular. We have all of these things going on that we have to consider at any one given moment. And here we are talking about foot position. However, I will tell you that foot position matters very much, and it can be the difference between an athlete really finding success with an exercise, at least biomechanically, and being able to perform it with safe and efficient movement, or the exercise kind of falling apart, and we're inviting contraindications and movement issues and the potential for over time injury and misuse, things that we want to avoid. And if we focus on the feet and get them into the right position, we are one step, no pun intended, but pun kind of intended, closer to getting them stronger, more stable, and moving better. So what I'm going to pull up here in my video section is a couple exercises with one of my athletes. And what we're going to look at here, let me bring this up, boom, and then to minimize it. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So first we start with single leg hurdle steps, which is not necessarily a strengthening exercise. It is more of a hip mobility exercise and something that we use in our assessment phase and something that we use in our pack profile assessment and then in our warm-up phase as well. So here we're looking at the foot strike and the landing. What is the knee doing? What is the hip doing? What is the foot doing as well? And this can tell us a lot about gait pattern and about hip mobility as well. And what we want to start doing here with the hip mobility is getting that nice hip flexion and getting that knee up, because what we want to do is have the athlete be able to engage and negotiate gait pattern and other lower body activities with control. All right, so we'll start with that, and then from there, let's go to the next video. Now we're going to go into another video that's going to feature some squats, and this is one of our major strengthening exercise. So you see this a lot in the strength phase of autism fitness programming. Squats are a big deal because squats are going to generalize to a lot of activities of daily living and other skills. We squat every day. We should get good at it. So this position, and I was just talking about this with my level 2 class the other day. Yes, there are multiple levels to the autism fitness certification. The setup, look at the feet here. And this was just one thing that I corrected for this athlete. We kept the feet a little bit wider, and you see they're turned out a little bit. And then we have this beautiful rooting. And rooting is when the feet are flat and anchored to the floor. And you can see that is a pretty smooth squat right there. What I mean is he's controlling the eccentric coming down, And then standing back up, he's not leaning too far forward. And as you can see, I have the sound off, but this guy is a talker, no problem. He wants to converse. Again, not an issue. We can build things into the program because we want to keep him motivated. And you can see, so right here, what happens is something very common. So we see a little bit of folding or the trunk collapsing. And oftentimes foot position will help with that. The other thing that we want to do up here is get that nice triangular hand position too. That's going to help increase control in the trunk, or if we want to call it the core. But the first thing, coming back to our topic of the day, is making sure that the feet are in a good position, because if they are not, you see here where he starts the feet a little bit more narrow, it's inviting, you can see that hip movement out, right? So we want the feet here. You see the difference between the feet. You see the knees also between the feet being closer and then the feet being more spread out. You can even see in the upper body a much better torso position there as well. So from there, now we're talking about low body strength, but then we see mention of that torso, that abdominal area, that core, if you want to call it that. So how are we going to address that? Well, it's not just one exercise for one thing. We have to choose exercises that make sense for this particular situation. So another thing that we're going to do is we might add what we call a bear walk hold to this. Now, these are not just exercises that we're going to throw together just because, oh, these all these all strengthen, so let's just smush them together in a program. That's not a program. We have to use them at different stages or different portions of the session in order for them to make sense, especially when we're dealing with an athlete or working with an athlete who is demonstrating some of these deficits. So finally, we get to what we call a bear hold. Now, oftentimes we'll use this as a strengthening exercise when the athlete is teeter-tottering or shifting right and left during their bear walk, because if we just have them do the bear walk and they're showing a lot of movement compensations, bear walk's not going to do a lot for them. This is why we need to identify it, i.e. taking your level 1 certification so you can identify these things and bring better programming to your athletes. Right? So here we start off in the bear walk position. However, we're not going to enter a locomotive phase. We're going to have the athlete hold this position. He's a little high here, so that lower body is a little high, so we're going to have him bring his knees down. And if you notice, this is basically a horizontal squat right here. And this is a great position for stabilization. You might notice, oh, it looks kind of like a plank. Oh, it looks kind of like the top end range of a push-up. Yes. So what we have here is a nexus of stability. We have stability at the wrists, at the elbows, at the shoulders. We have stability, yes, of course, in the trunk or the core. And then we have low body stability as well. So this is a very stable and a really helpful position to have our athletes in, especially when they're demonstrating some compensatory movements with the bear walk. So we're going to have the athlete hold that for about 5 to 10 seconds, depending on what their current ability level is. But the idea is they start in this lovely quadruped position, and you see he's bridging up a little bit high here. So we're going to give either a verbal or some type of, I think I gave him a slight visual cue there to get hit, plus the verbal to get his knees down. And that's what we're looking for, is that nice 5 to 10 second hold, and then we can build it up from there. So those are a couple different ways that we can strengthen. And you notice the foot position in that third video with the bear hold. We want to keep feet about shoulder width, because that's going to give our athletes a strong base. So those are things to consider when you're considering rooting and how that's going to apply to bringing out the best possible performance in your athletes for each exercise. So I hope that was helpful for you this week, or if you're finding it next week or whenever you find it. Rooting and foot position is a big deal. It can sometimes seem like so far off trajectory and so far away from the goal, especially when we have a lot of competing or maladaptive or off-task behaviors as well. But once we get our athlete into position, it's really important to make sure that their feet are in proper position to give them the most stability. And that's what I got. I'm Eric Chessen, founder of Autism Fitness. Hope you found this helpful. And if you are ready now to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro, click the link in the description below and you can start your coursework right